Need a little more flavor.
A little background noise there, everybody. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 13th episode of CelebWorx Live, where they wouldn't accept our HMO at 177A Bleecker Street. I'm Christopher Arsaga.
I'm Nery Lemus. Thanks for joining us.
Before we bring on our special guests, we want to remind you that if you have any general questions for the special guest or us, please post them on the official stream, and we will answer them if we can. And just remember, before Nery cuts in here, you can ask us questions too, because nobody really asks us questions. So
I'm excited to bring on this beloved promoter to the program with some flavor. Before I bring him on, let's introduce him. He is genuinely one of the nicest people in this industry. Michael Millerick runs a successful branch of events in the Central California region. These events include StocktonCon, Lodi Comic-Con, and formerly Central Valley Con. His events are some of the last events to maintain a small family-friendly feel. The one thing I can say about my friend is that he runs his event with his heart, and I can't say that about everyone. We're proud to personally know him and proud to call him a friend inside and outside this business. Please welcome Mike Millerick of StocktonCon Events.
yay, Mike. There he is.
Are you getting a little teary, Mike?
I love it. Thanks for joining us today, Mike.
I wish you would have read it a little better the way I intended it to be read.
Now you can't cash that check because he did it wrong.
Exactly. That's a freebie.
Yeah.
Oh,
all right, Mike.
God.
Well,
Hey, I miss you guys. It's been a long time.
Yes, it's been quite a while. How are you handling the quarantine?
It's been strange. Obviously, there's so much going on in the world right now too, and it's just you kind of get stuck in your house, and you're trying to get some things done and trying to work on events that you don't know if they're going to happen and that sort of thing. So I know that getting ready for StocktonCon, the Stockton Arena is currently closed, but we haven't been canceled, so we're kind of like in that middle ground right now.
right.
I know we're all kind of stuck in purgatory, so it's like we got to figure out what we're gonna do, But this is why we have a live show, or maybe this is purgatory. Maybe this is just our perpetual hell.
Purgatory. Dude, I'm in. If Mike and you are there, I'm in. I'll join purgatory.
I want.
Love talking to you guys in person, and even here, it's great to see you guys. But
Yeah.
it is so different, like you said. I mean, I've seen like a little clips here and there of your other shows and stuff, and it's everybody's getting a little stir crazy.
Absolutely. I just am curious to
Dress up in a suit. I don't normally. I was out doing yard work earlier. I was not in a suit. That's just kind of how I am.
I'm just curious which bet you lost against which other promoter that was supposed to be on today. I'm so sorry.
Oh, no. Don't let him go there, man. Come on.
No, not at all. I'm going to get started today, Mike. We want to discuss, sort of what your background was. So where were you raised? What was your childhood like? Do you mind sharing some of that with us?
Absolutely. I grew up in Lodi, California, and went to college at University of the Pacific in Stockton. While I was at UOP, I was working a little bit in radio, and then I was working at UOP in the public relations department with the athletic department. And so I was graduating, and as I graduated, I moved into a full-time position. I was actually technically at UOP for 27 years, and they eliminated my position in 2015. But it was it was such a great experience there. I was able to work with a lot of great student athletes and a lot of great, colleagues in the athletic department. But it was such a weird, time in life, because when what I was doing was, we were trying to get the word out about the athletic department, and, being at a small private university in Northern California, it's a little different, and it was definitely challenging. And I was lucky enough to be able to do the radio for the men's basketball team the last 3 years. Well, 3 years in a row when they made the NCAA tournament, and that was a blast. They were great teams, and kind of got screwed one year in the NCAA tournament, but we're over that, right?
Is that the same? Is that the same suit you wore when you were coaching?
Ouch! Ouch! Don't take that from him, man. Jeez, you can talk about his ducky hat. He thinks
Actually, you know what? It really is.
Is it really? Oh no!
When I get the job, they like go here's 3 suits. Don't get them wrinkled, and that's it. They say
a Men's Warehouse commercial.
but I'm not. I haven't done that yet.
So Mike, I mean, obviously, all the fans that are on, I think one of the things that they're always interested in, and it's funny because right over your shoulder there, you have a Baby Yoda. But that goes to what I was going to ask is, I always like to ask people like what if they collect something, if they collected something when they were a kid, or if they collect something now, and tell people about what you collect, because I think people are kind of curious about that kind of stuff, you know?
You know, when I was a kid, there was no local comic shop near where I lived. So like I would get comic books at the grocery store, which is like, you know, the spinner racks in there and that sort of thing. And I for whatever reason, I was, you know, I always liked Spider-Man and Superman, and they were on TV and stuff. But like my favorite was the Fantastic Four, and you know, and Joe Field, who owns Flying Colors Comics in the Bay Area, Walnut Creek, he actually helped make Stockton the home of the Fantastic Four. He teamed up with Al over at Al's Comics, and it was in 1985. Stockton was made the home of the Fantastic Four, and that was, you know, I was already into the Fantastic Four before that, but that like just, you know, solidified it. And so I have almost every Fantastic Four comic book printed, with the exception of probably about 30, 35 that are in the first 100 that were printed, just because they're very expensive. But yeah, I mean, I love Fantastic Four, and you know, I had the Marvel Unlimited for a while and started back at issue 1 and just started reading through. It was a lot of fun.
Wow, that's quite impressive, man.
Yeah, now I know who to pitch for the next StocktonCon.
Wow, that is so cool. If I knew that instead of doing the Bleecker Street opening, I would have said something about the Baxter Building instead.
Fine, or yeah, anything like that.
So you mentioned a little bit about of a transition from sort of a educational job to, you know, your love for putting on events. How did you make that transition in terms of getting started in the business? Well,
in 2011 was when it really started. And I'd spoken to a friend of mine, Andy Prokop, who is at that time was the president of the United Way in Stockton. And I'd been a fan of Comic-Con. I'd gone a couple of times, and I've gone to all the local events, you know, in Sacramento and San Jose, you know, a lot of those are in the area, and there wasn't really anything going on in Stockton. And I was like, and I just sent him a note one night, and I said, hey, what do you think if we did something where we raised a little bit of money for charity and did a comic convention in Stockton? He's like, just wrote me back. I think it was 3 words. He said, just let's do it.
Wow.
And so that was in 2011, like in November, and we did the first StocktonCon in August of 2012. So, you know, spent a few months of that getting ready. And it was a very small show. There were not a ton of vendors. It was actually on the UOP campus. And I, you know, essentially set that show up and did everything with it while working at UOP, kind of doing this on, you know, in the evenings and on the weekends and whatever little free time I had. And we just kind of went for it. And, you know, it just took off. I mean, I was so, you know, we're so happy with what it did that first one. We were actually expecting about 750 people for the first event. We ended up with about 4,200.
Wow.
It just so basically, you know, we did not have a ton of ticket sellers. We were like kind of taken off guard a little bit, but
that's good. That's the good kind of surprise.
Great. Yeah, it was a great problem to have. But, you know, and so, you know, as we gone on, you know, we grew a little bit and grew, and then went to, you know, to the arena downtown and moved to a 1-day show down there, and then moved to a 2-day show. And so once we got a little bit bigger, we were just so happy to be a part of what was going on and having a fun event for Stockton and just having, you know, a great time. And that was, you know, that was one of the things that we always wanted to try to do, was to make sure that it was something, you know, I'm a fan, and I wanted it to be for other fans, and we hope we had enough people that came in and try to get a variety of guests, which you guys obviously help with. But I mean, try to get a kind of a wide range of people that would want to come out.
I've got to say, Mike, and what you've done with the areas that you put on events at, I mean, it's remarkable. I mean, your events are well attended. They are, when I say that they're the last large events with that family-friendly feel, it's exactly that. So people that go to a Comic-Con or, are nostalgic of the 90s, early 2000s feel of a comic event, your event brings that to them. So how do you maintain that consistently?
Well, I mean, 100%. It starts like with the vendors and the artists and the guests. I mean, the guests are a big piece of it, but like bringing folks in that, we've been really blessed with a wide variety of people selling different types of things. Some people are selling Funkos and Pops, and some are selling comic books, and some are selling stuff that they made themselves. And I mean, there's just so many, different types of things that you can buy. And then you go to the artist alley, and there's 100 artists that like you might not have ever seen before had you not come out to that event, or gone to another event in the state or whatever. But that's one of the things. And you guys mentioned, what are you doing in between? One thing that we've done is I sent a note out in May to all of our vendors and artists saying, hey, look, send me a little glimpse of what you are and what you bring. Give me a photo, and we're going to spotlight. And I'm sure you guys have seen on our page. There's a lot of we're spotlighting a lot of. I haven't had as many vendors as I would like, but we've had a lot of artists come through and say, hey, this is what we're doing, and it's great because you see a lot of people liking the post on Instagram or sharing it, and and that sort of thing, and that's what it's all about. And we try to make it. It's funny because we're never going to be one of these giant Comic-Cons where there's 100,000 people in San Diego, New York, all these other huge Dragon Con. I mean, they can go on and on about all these great large events. We have a small event. We don't have a convention center in Stockton. We have the Stockton Arena, and we're kind of, we've got that spot kind of locked in, and it's hard to grow, but I do see the things that we are getting is that we get a variety of folks to come through, and it's not the same people every time, and and that's one of the great things. And there's two sides to that, and I know you guys probably feel the same way because you go to shows all over the country, but it's like when you go back to San Diego Comic-Con, it's the biggest convention in the world, or one of them, and that if you go down this one aisle, you're going to see that one guy that's got these great comic books or these great, figures. And I love that piece of it, but I also love the fact that you're going to see all these other different things too. So it's always such a great mix of things, and working with the vendors and artists that we've had. And I say, I always knock on wood when I say that because, we're as good as they are, and they are the backbone of what we do.
I totally agree. I think that the vendor is such an essential part to every Comic-Con, and sometimes it's very overlooked. And it's people like you, Mike Broder, Chris Jackson. I mean, I could keep going on and on with promoters, but these are people that bring certain promoters to each of their shows that craft an experience for the fan. And I think that's the key essential part to making a successful show. And I sadly regret that we have not been spotlighted on your Facebook page.
I was just going to say that.
I wasn't going to intercut, but you're on here now, so hopefully we'll correct that soon.
I can just take this and put it on your...
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be good enough.
Absolutely.
It's funny, just to kind of piggyback on what Nery was saying. I've been collecting comics probably just as long as you have been, Mike, and that's why I'm so interested in what people collect. But when I was a kid, dude, it's funny. I don't know if I've even told anybody this, but one of my teachers in high school, she actually used to run San Diego Comic-Con. Her and her husband were part of Graffiti Comics. And so when you walked in, they were literally the first people you saw. And so I used to go to San Diego Comic-Con all the time. And I mean, it wasn't even back then. There were no guests. You know, there were no people signing autographs. Every once in a while, you had like Jim Shooter or something signing autographs at a table somewhere. But it was all about the vendors. And I think that's it right there. That's the core of comic book conventions, is that, you go there. And for me, going to San Diego Comic-Con now, I can't even go because my mind gets like too, and so when I go to your show, I love it because I'm like, oh, I can actually focus on, hey, I'm looking for this book, I'm looking for Booster Gold #1.
When I let you go. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. When Nery actually lets me walk away. It's takes the handcuffs off.
But with San Diego too, though, it's like, there's been such an evolution of that event too.
Oh yeah.
And because when I started going back in, I think the first one I went to was, I want to say 2009, or maybe it was either 8, 9, or 10. I want to say it was 9, but it was like you could still actually buy tickets to the next year on Sunday. A couple of years later, I mean, that's all gone, and it's like you just can't get in. But but it's also evolved because there's I honestly think that one of the biggest things that happened down there was the influx of media, multimedia,
right.
Because and it's definitely genre type stuff, but like Twilight was a huge example of that transition of what happened down there. It just brought in this overload of people. And
I'm glad you said that, though. But essentially, it's not technically, when people say Comic-Con, everybody has this misconception that Chris and I have a part of that in terms of it being the largest event. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. It's studio run now. That's essentially what it is.
I mean, dude, every year we could go if we wanted to. Certain
as fans,
people that offer us tickets, and we end up not going because we're always doing other stuff. And to me, it's fun. Don't get me wrong. I love Comic-Con. I think it's absolutely amazing. It's just not what it was when it first started. That's all I was trying to say.
Sure.
I wasn't trying to say anything bad about it. I love it. I think it's great. It's just so massive. And it's so larger than life. I'm like, yeah, you know what? Because I'm not that kind of guy. I don't know if you know this, but I have terrible anxiety. And I don't like being around people, believe it or not. Everybody's like, you're so outgoing. How do you have anxiety? But going to Comic-Con would flip me out.
Oh, yeah. No, I get it. It's funny because, one of the pieces of that puzzle of what we do at StocktonCon, and trying, like I've always said, like, especially in the beginning of StocktonCon, we were trying to bring a piece of, just a little small piece of what goes on in San Diego to Stockton. And a lot of that involved going to San Diego and trying to get in with DC and Marvel Comics and Image and everybody who was there, and trying to get like some things to give away to the fans and that sort of thing. And that was, that was a big part of it. And I've gone every year since 2009. I think, I was obviously planning to go this year, but obviously did not work out. But
wait, it's not happening anymore? No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
What are you talking about?
A lot of the events in the country have been kind of put on the back burner. And speaking of one, May 9th was supposed to be the Lodi Comic-Con, and we've since moved that to November 15th. So we had some cool guests that we were going to have, and a couple of CelebWorx guests, and we're still hoping to have them there in November. They're still playing.
What do you mean? They're going to the next one. Whatever it is, it carries over, Mike. You know that, right? It's a cyclical thing.
We've already confirmed that. That's right.
Yeah.
It's like the carousel. It's circular.
Absolutely.
Listen to Happy Gilmore. So, Mike, when you're talking about collecting Fantastic Four, it reminds me of when I was a kid and what I wanted to do growing up. Like, it was always stuff that I loved. I was like, why can't I do this? So growing up, is this like what you wanted to do, like in the back of your head, where you're like, oh yeah, I want to run a Comic-Con? And
no,
no, that's the simple answer.
The simple answer is no. I mean, I didn't even know what a Comic-Con was. I mean, I'm old, so back in I grew up in the 70s. So like, as I was growing up, there really, nobody talked about any kind of a Comic-Con. I think the San Diego Comic-Con, I believe, started in like the late 70s, right?
Right.
But I never had heard about it or anything. Honestly, when I was a kid, I really wanted to. My big fandom was America's Top 40 with Casey Kasem. I love that.
Yes.
And I wanted to be a radio. And I was fortunate enough to work in radio for a little bit and to do some fun things. I was the voice of the Stockton Ports for 1 year. As I mentioned, I got to do the UOP basketball for 3 years. And I've also worked part-time at a couple of local radio stations, just playing songs and that sort of thing. And that was a lot of fun. But yeah, I mean, when it was a lot of people have asked me this question, and the best answer I can give somebody about this is that when I started doing the StocktonCon events, it was the one thing that I've been kind of waiting for my whole life that I didn't know I was waiting for. And it's like, because I essentially, like I said, I mean, it kind of fell into doing it as a kind of a full-time thing, and that was in 2015, and getting that set up to start for the actual business in 2016. It was something that I'd never had projected. I like I said, when you work for a university for 27 years, that's a lot of your life. I mean, it's still, that's still almost half of my life, or it is actually, so far. And when you're kind of into that, when we had that first StocktonCon, and it kind of went into the second one, and then into the third one, and then the fourth, and it's like, this year would have been our ninth, and or still is. I mean, we have not canceled yet, but it right. With Stockton Arena being closed right now, we're kind of up in the air. So I know a lot of people have been asking about guests, and we've definitely got some guests lined up. We've got some awesome guests that are ready to go and ready to be announced, but we're going to kind of hold off for a little bit, and once we kind of get that 100% from the arena and from the county and from the city, we're gonna go for it. We're gonna be, I know that there's a lot of people out there just like me that I want to just go to an event. I mean, whether it's SACCon or the Lodi Comic Con or San Diego. I mean, I want to get out there.
Just get on out.
I'm glad you mentioned that. What are your thoughts? Because you're sort of in this holding pattern, knowing that Stockton Arena is closed. What are your thoughts on the state of the industry as a whole?
Obviously, we always want to do what's best and safest for the fans and for our guests and for our vendors. I mean, it's like I said, we talked about it being a family thing, and that's always going to be number one. I think that that these type of events, I think concerts, I think baseball games, any kind of sporting event are going to bounce back amazingly huge once we're given the go ahead to go do it again. And I think that they've been doing a great job, and I'm talking about governmentally of especially in California of, trying to ease back in and that sort of thing. I mean, obviously, it's really scary. But I do think that once we're able to get that go ahead, I think it's going to be, full steam ahead.
What's a normal day in the life of Mike Miller during quarantine?
That's a loaded question, if there ever was one. All kinds of stuff going through my head. Sorry.
Guys, you slow down over there, kid.
He tries out all three of his suits in one day, every day.
How did you know I only had 3?
You just said it like 10 minutes ago. I'm a good interviewer. I remember things you say.
That's why I like you, Nery.
Thank you.
No, the typical is sometimes we have meetings and that sort of thing on Zoom. I do still I still get a ton of email and that sort of thing. A lot of people asking questions and that sort of thing. And
how many agents do you get saying, "Hey, I need to bring 50 people to the next event"? I really want to know. I'm sure you get a lot of those, right?
Be a lot, man.
Yeah.
And we get a lot of obviously a lot of vendors that want to come out and because that's the one thing, and it's really tough because vendors, a lot of the vendors that are that are missing out on these shows, that's what they do for a living, and because they're doing shows every week in every other city. This week it's Sacramento, then it's Stockton, then it's San Diego, then it's San Jose. It's just I feel bad for them, and that's why we're trying to help promote them. Like, online, and I wish they would send me some stuff, and I'm going to reach out again this week. But like, we want to see if I know a lot of folks sell stuff on eBay, so I'm sure that helps a little bit. But I'm sure some vendors can make a great deal of their income, especially at a show like San Diego, that they're missing out on. But yeah, I mean, a lot of the day is spent, doing that kind of thing. I'll be real honest with you, and you probably think I'm lying, but I'm not. I gotta learn, and I'm always trying. I feel like if you don't learn one new thing a day, it's a day wasted. Also, if you don't laugh at least 2 or 3 times, it's a day wasted. But and we're getting laughs in here, so that's good. But reading about different types of things and trying to just learn about what's going on. Part of it's in what's going on in the world, and part of it's just learning about something I didn't know before, like how to maybe do something a little better on my computer that I wasn't utilizing.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that you say that. Chris and I kind of have the same mindset in terms of doing something every day, big or small, and trying to get something of our business done, and regardless of it not being implemented in the next probably year of our life. And I think that's key for mental health. And I think a lot of the things that we've been doing, I mean, as a nation, is like working on ourselves, whether it's physically, emotionally, mentally. It's just quite an interesting task to undertake, because I don't think anybody ever had the time to do it before.
That's true. Yeah.
So I'm really glad to see that you're doing so well, considering the circumstances, Mikey. I mean, I know that you know that I've had my own health journey in the last 7 months. And I remember in 2017 that I was at your event and you weren't doing too well. And can we talk a little bit about that? Because I think it'll inspire a lot of people out there.
I mean, yeah, I it's been out there a little bit, but I was born with a defective heart valve. And I actually only knew about it for about the last 10 years. And, when my doctor had found that, he was like, well, you're doing okay now, but, to stay active, do whatever, and try to do the right things and whatever. And it basically, like you said, in 2017, it just started failing.
Oh.
In fact, it was really interesting because Terry Cronin, who does a comic called The Healing, and one of my really good friends, Mike Kingston, have a booth at Comic-Con. And Terry is a doctor, but he does some amazing things with comics. And I walked into Comic-Con, and they're right near a door, and I walked straight in and walked right to their booth to say hey, and gave me each a big hello. And Terry looks at me, he goes, "Are you okay?" And I was like, yeah, I think so. I mean, it's really strange because I just gotten over like a bout of bronchitis or something, or, I was coughing a lot. But I was feeling healthy. I was feeling well. And he goes, "Man, just something seems off right now." And, as you mentioned, Nery, that was in 17, it was August, but I was kind of, the valve was not doing well. And I was kind of on this downward path, and it hit me during, StocktonCon. I was coughing a lot, and I was getting all these warning signs that I didn't know that were related to my valve. And so finally, I went in, and this was in October. I had gone to a pulmonary specialist, and they said, "Look, you got to get to your cardiologist ASAP." And so I went in, and they did some tests and did whatever, and not to delay that, but to make that a longer part of it, but they said, "Yeah, we need to get you in the hospital tomorrow." And I'm like, "Ooh," and yeah, he goes, "We got to replace that valve. It's bad." And I remember asking the doctor specifically, because and I'm going to be real honest with you guys, and I've talked to some people about this personally, but as part of this whole journey thing, but like, I didn't know if I was gonna live. And with that being said, I asked my doctor, I said, do I have to have the surgery tomorrow? And he said, "No, I don't think so." And I said, can we try something to make, so I don't have to leave right away? And basically, essentially I was buying a day to be able to kind of get some things in order in my house and pack some stuff, and because I knew that it wasn't going to be where you go, hey, you're all fixed, go home.
Right.
So it was scary on a number of levels, and so they replaced the valve, and I'm not trying to make light of it in any way, because it was obviously, it was one of the worst days of my life when I found out that I might not make it through the weekend, and so I was scared, and I tried not to actually let a lot of people even know that, and tried to make it less of a deal than it was, because I didn't want people to worry about it, and I was hoping that that everything would go okay, and thank God I was able to go through, but I did develop an infection. I was in the hospital and in a healthcare facility for 50 days, almost 50 days, and of course it was tough, but it was also one of the best things that ever happened to me, because I kind of learned to not take things for granted, and try to to live each day to its fullest. Although it's kind of hard to do that right now, when just there's a lot of struggles in the world for people for a variety of reasons. And so when I got out of the hospital, it was right before Thanksgiving, so that was a really good Thanksgiving. But I was actually cleared 100%, kind of to resume all activities in January of 18. And so ever since, thank God, my heart's been doing well, and I walk at least 3 miles a day. I'm working out every day. I'm not great at working out, but I try to do some things, to try to stay active, and that is a good part of the day. That's at least 2 to 3 hours, is working out and walking, and just trying to get around and do some things. But I think that I'm definitely not in the best shape of my life, but I'm stronger than I have been in a long time, and definitely when I'm out walking around, I feel great, because I just love being out, and wearing my mask and that sort of thing, just in case other people are around. God bless everybody who is out there that's struggling with that COVID stuff, but we just want to be, you want to be as safe as possible for everyone, and that
absolutely. But one of the things that's so great about this business, and there's a lot of positive things to take away, but one of the things I found is that some of our discussions that I have with some of these people that are now my friends, and you're one of those people, Mike, that years ago when we started working together, you and I always had discussions outside of the business.
Mhm.
So a lot of it had to do with life, making sure that you lived the best life possible. And I remember when you got sick, and I think you called me a week after your surgery had happened, and you called me from the hospital. And that conversation stuck with me, because it was like, hey, I've changed my thought process on everything. Love every moment and live your life to the best that you can live it. And it's that conversation has stuck with me ever since. So I want you to know that I'm proud to call you a friend. I love you dearly, and it's not going to help you with any of the guests that I bring to your show. But you're one of the good guys, and I'm glad you made it, and I'm glad you're safe, and I'm glad you have that perspective on life.
Good. Thanks. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody. Yeah, exactly.
It's not going to get any better than that, right?
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna try.
I second all that stuff, Mike. You're awesome, man. Honestly, when we go to shows and I know you're there, I get a big smile.
Oh man,
I do. Seriously, you're a good dude, and honestly, it's funny that not funny, haha, but funny situation that I feel like people. Like somebody like you, when you go through things and you're open to talking about it, it actually will, you inspired Nery, or that way, Nery, in what you said. And I went through something similar where I had a problem when I used to work for GameStop. And when I started at GameStop, I actually went through severe anxiety, so much to where I ended up in the hospital, and they hooked me up to the heart monitors and stuff. And I was actually really, really scared, but it was just anxiety. It ended up being anxiety and stuff. But, a lot of my friends, I had a friend that smoked a lot, and he was like, man, you scared the hell out of me. And I stopped smoking because of what happened to you.
Wow.
And I was like, well, at least something good came out of it. You know what I mean? So there's always that flip side where you can look at it and say, if you learned a lesson or somebody else learned a life lesson and it helped their life, it's actually, for the better,
No, I mean, that's one of the great things about it. And I've had, the one thing that, I do take away from that is that when you do tell that story, or I tell this story or whatever, it's, it does not make me feel like terrible. It's like, it kind of makes me feel good in the sense that, like, maybe it does touch somebody, or, that sort of thing. So,
yeah.
And I haven't, like I said, I haven't talked about it much publicly. So this will be out there for people to see.
Well, guess what? It is now.
But when you're in that type of a situation, it's like you want to talk to people about it, but you also, on the other hand, you don't want to burden people with it. Like nobody,
right.
Like that's the other thing is, like, I never asked anybody to come visit me in the hospital because nobody likes the hospital. That's just, that's a reality of it. And, it was a really strange time in life. Let's just leave it at that. But there's so many positive things that have happened in my life, and I just, I'm blessed every day. So I just kind of look at it that way.
So I think we should get back on the comic book convention.
Yeah.
Lighten it up a little bit here. So when you do shows, Mike, what do you think your biggest asset is to help make the show a success?
The people that I work with.
Charlie, a cheer up, Charlie.
The people, obviously Charlie. We have so many amazing people that help us. I mean, I can sit here and list them all off. I mean, celebrities. Greg helps with celebrities. I mean, my buddy Ross comes up from Riverside.
Scott will kill us if we don't mention Scott.
Scott, yeah.
Do this event without. I mean, he helps so much with the vendors and artists. Grant helps with all the fashion show stuff and all a lot of the cosplayers. I mean, it's definitely it's a great group of folks that we've got around. I mean, my buddy Alan helps do announcing. Like, I mean, I'm just trying to think, but yeah, Charlie. I mean, Charlie's awesome. Actually, before I had that Bart Simpson thing, the craziest thing about that the zombie Bart, was that I actually bought that from Charlie before I knew him.
Whoa,
that's crazy.
Yeah, it was a friend of mine has like a swapping thing at Comic-Con, and here it is.
Yeah, zombie Bart.
But he has like a swapping thing. Hey, I got this, but I'm looking for this, and that sort of thing. And Charlie ended up getting the zombie Bart, and I think he got it for somebody else, and they didn't want it or whatever. So I ended up buying it from him, and then that was like the first time I'd ever met him, and then he ended up helping with that year's event. I think it was 2013 or 14. It's crazy.
I think most of the time, most successful places, like when I worked in retail, one of my favorite sayings to tell everybody when I would hire my crew, I mean, I would hire up to, like, depending on what time of year it was, like 20, 25 people, and they would all be, working for me. And I would tell every single one, hey, I'm only as strong as my weakest person. And, it's such a good, I mean, so I don't remember where I got that line from, but I stuck to it. And I was like, man, I literally would train all of my people that worked with me to do my job, because I was like, if I can't do, if I'm not here and I get sick, I can call and be like, yo, and I mean, Nery,
thankfully we're both very strong people, Chris, then we'll leave it at that.
Nery, I knew Nery was going to jump in and give me the funny thing, but no, so on a serious note, like, he doesn't like getting praised at all, but I got to tell you something. Seriously, man, he's a good dude, and he does such a damn good job. And I wouldn't be anywhere if it weren't for him. I mean, dude, seriously, I would be literally in the middle of the ocean, like flapping around, drowning.
The check's in the mail, Chris. The check's
No, seriously, man.
No, but I mean, as you probably imagine, I get asked by a lot of agencies to do their live shows. during the COVID stuff, and it's online, and you're the only one that I said yes to. So,
wow.
We love you. We
I
love
feel
you.
so blessed. I feel so blessed.
Because I love you guys, and it's great. But kind of back to what we try to do is luckily I was able to work at a lot of different types of events when I was at UOP, and we handled the NCAA tournament up in Sacramento, and I ran the media area for that and that sort of thing. But again, there's people helping you to do that. But that definitely helped in being able to kind of put on an event of these sizes. And I love doing it too. I think that's a part of it. It's really the irony of it is that I wanted to have like an event in Stockton because I wanted to be able to, shop and do fun things and that kind of thing. And it's like I kind of don't get to experience it. Obviously I get to come up and talk to some of the celebrities. I get to try to get on the floor a little bit and see some of the vendors. But the other thing about it too is like there's so much stuff I want to buy, and I'd be like, I got to have this.
And you didn't get permission from Nery either, so
that's true.
Nery has to give me permission to go get. Otherwise, I'd be out there all day buying comic books.
Yeah. Great.
I lose him. He'll go.
Go out.
He'll be like, "Hey,
where are you?" And I'm like, I'm looking for a comic. Leave me alone.
He's like, Nery, I gotta go for like
on the floor. People gotta come up and go, "Hey, I got a question for you."
My favorite thing, and I actually did this when I went to, and it's not one of your shows, but I did a show in Tampa Bay, and I had Alan Oppenheimer with me, and I was like, you know what? If I bring him with me to look around at stuff, then I have an excuse. So that's my new thing is I'm like, hey, do you want to go look around since we got a minute?
You know what I do now? I stop him from taking people and just say, go, because I would rather them sit at the table. But it's kind of funny. He does ask permission because, I'm like always calling him like, where the hell are you?
Where are you?
We need you. A paid
There's no more burritos in the green room.
Never was that said. Never was that ever said. That was never said.
We have too much fun here.
Even though, Mike, in your green room, when you do bring the Mexican food, it is phenomenal.
It's really good.
Yeah. It is good.
Just remember, no cheese.
It was one of the places in Stockton right now, and I sure hope that they're able to open soon, but they've been closed the whole time.
What was the name of the place?
Cafe Rio.
Cafe Rio. Okay, so anybody watching in Stockton, the moment that Cafe Rio opens, please go support them.
I will be there, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it's really good. Yeah. Now I'm gonna lighten the mood even more. We all have convention stories, and I'm sure we all could share one, but we would love to hear one from you, Mike. What's your favorite convention story?
Wow. I mean, you guys know that I'm a wrestling fan. And a lot of people know that. And actually the photo that's there of me is the Mike Miller promo pic from Supreme Pro Wrestling. Yeah. So, I mean, there's been a lot of great convention stories. And are you saying convention at my convention, or are you saying convention at
any convention story?
Doesn't matter.
One of my favorite ones was this was probably about 7 years ago. And you know what the sales pavilion is at San Diego Comic-Con. So sales pavilion is like the upper area where, for people who haven't been or don't remember, it's the upper area on the second level in between ballroom 20 and all the other small ballrooms where a lot of the celebrities sign that are not signing at a booth on the main floor. But this is like the designated celebrity area. So I'm walking through there and I'm moving pretty fast but it's because it's a pretty open area. And I literally had to do a triple take because I walked through the door and I'm walking about halfway through sales pavilion, and I kind of look over my shoulder, and I'm like, what? And I stopped, and because I wasn't jogging or running, but I was moving pretty fast, and I'd gotten probably about 100 feet away from who I thought what I'd seen, and it was just standing up against the glass walls there next to the doors was Ted DiBiase and Virgil. so the $1 Million Man and Virgil were just kind of standing there. Nobody was approaching them. They weren't doing a signing. They were just kind of standing there.
Wow.
So I just spun around and walked all the way back and just said, "Hey, I just wanted to say hi. I loved your work for so many years." Just shook each of their hands and took off.
Wow.
It was fun. It was a quickie, but it was a lot of fun.
Those are some of the best encounters when it's not like, it's just a spur of the moment and you weren't expecting it,
Yeah.
Like Nery and I ran into Quentin Tarantino one day. Like just randomly, we were going to the movies and there's Tarantino going to another movie. And we're like, we just want to shake your hand, bro. Like,
yeah,
you're freaking amazing. And he was like, oh yeah, thanks. So Mike, at your shows, just so we get a leg up on the competition, how do you determine which guests you bring to your show?
That's a great question. I think that
it's any guest that Nery forces down his throat at any given time, right?
Mike? Network guests.
Many of the celebrities that work with CelebWorx are watching. He never forces anybody on me. But no, he, it's a weird combination. We get suggestions from fans. There's folks that I think that, I believe would be a great fit for what we're doing. I honestly, I don't really slot like certain types of guests in certain areas. Like there's,
not in our spots.
Yes,
oh God.
Yeah,
Dougie!
Oh, I love him. Is it him?
Cute.
Look at those guys.
Adorable.
Okay. Anyway,
now our is gonna go up.
He just ran into the office.
That's so cute.
But when I say slots, I mean like, we usually try to get folks from different genres. If you look at the guest list for our events, you usually would notice that, there's a couple of Power Rangers, there's a couple of horror folks, there's a couple of science fiction. We try to bring in a sizable group of comic artists, and voice actors, whatever the case may be. So that's kind of like where it starts. And then, of course, talking to Nery and you guys and just trying to see, who hasn't been here yet and going from there first, and then, going deeper into the list of folks. And, occasionally, somebody will reach out to me and it will say, "Hey, I would love to come to your show." And that's always a great thing too. But there's been a lot of folks that do approach us, we try to, work on the lists and, and as kind of like trying to, not go too far behind the scenes, but like, there are things involved with financials and what people need to be able to come. And
of course,
those, I still haven't located those gray M&Ms that some people have asked for, but
I know where to get them if you actually need them.
Thank you. Yes.
I'm the go-to guy. Anytime you need something, you call me.
So then that means you should call me. So what is your favorite, what is your favorite convention guest then? Who is your favorite convention guest then?
Oh my God.
It should be me, but other than that, keep going.
Woo!
I'm gonna set you up at a table, get some 8x10s for you, and just set you out.
Hey,
I have a joke for that one, and I'm not pushing it. Keep going.
After these shows, we might have to because people have been hitting us up now.
Nice. God, that is like seriously like the toughest question because there's so many amazing guests that we've had. It's hard to like just pick one. God, it's really funny. One of my favorite guests that I've worked with that has actually never been at StocktonCon. It was at Lodi Comic Con is Booker T.
Booker T.
He's great. But awesome. I hate to like just single him out, but he's an amazing guy, and we've talked on a number of occasions, trying to work together on some other events, and hopefully we'll get him out to Stockton at some point. But but yeah, I mean, God, there's been so many. Like Oppie's great.
Uh,
Yeah, I mean,
everybody loves Oppie.
yeah.
You can't go wrong with him.
God, there's just so many great guests.
I gotta say that Oppie, I mean, for people that don't know the CelebWorx origins, but he was the kind of guy that broke down doors for us.
Yeah.
I mean, of the initial 10 clients that we had, he was one of the first 10. So,
Yeah. Well, I remember
Initial 2 clients.
Nery, when I first talked, I was like, who do you even have? You had like a handful of people, and I'm like,
and this was a half a decade ago.
We had like
6 years ago.
I remember we had 3. I mean, we started with 1, but we had like 3, and we had 3 for a long time. It was Pat Fraley, Lauren Lester, and Michael Bell. Those were like our first 3.
and
then it was
for actually putting up with mine and Nery's crap.
Absolutely. And then it was Katie Lee, Will Ryan, Alan Oppenheimer, and 2 others. So
who was
Morgan Lofting, and then one we don't want to say.
No, let's just leave that.
Yeah, leave that one. So,
yeah.
But yeah, it's amazing to know you for so long. We've already known each other for a little bit more than half a decade, Mike. Yeah. And to know where we started, to know where we are now, it's just like a remarkable, full circle experience.
Oh, of course, yeah. I mean, it's been great, and and the one thing is, and I'm not trying to make this an infomercial for CelebWorx, but
what do you mean? That's why we're here. This is a commercial for both of us. Actually,
how much is this check now?
Hi, I'm Mike Millerick from StocktonCon. CelebWorx is awesome.
That was perfect.
Thank you. No, you guys have been great. We have not had a bad experience with any guests. We've all had. I mean, it's hard. It's a dumb thing to say. I guess we've always had great experiences with all the guests that we've had from you guys, and that's just a fact. I mean, it's a great relationship that we've been able to.
Absolutely, and we're friends. That's the thing. I mean, it doesn't affect our business relationship, but we are friends too. So
no, it definitely helps. I mean, yeah, and we've it's fun. It's a fun time, man. It's a fun time, and we've actually, I mentioned earlier that we haven't really announced a lot of the StocktonCon guests yet, just because we're trying to be. As I mentioned, we're waiting to get the full go-ahead from the arena and the county, but we're also cognizant of people that have signed on that most folks are still wanting to come, but they might want to back out if if there is a spike in the area or that sort of thing. But we're obviously everybody's praying for like a vaccine and that sort of thing. So
that's true. Hey, Nery, we're kind of, I think we're running a little short on time, right?
I said 3 hours. Is that not
3 hours? Oh yeah, that's right. It was 3 hours. I forgot.
We can finish the last 2 questions and then ask the fan questions.
Well, I want to get to that photo I sent you.
That sounds like great. So we're starting a new tradition, I guess, at CelebWorx.
We're trying something new.
We're gonna try something
new.
So essentially, I'm going to put up the photo, and I'm going to have to hide us because then then everyone can showing stream. Yeah, I have to add you guys, but what I'm going to do is so that way people can see it. They're going to be able to hear us and
see it.
I'm going to leave you up, Chris, because you're going to be
thanks. Okay, I'll explain it. Okay, so this is something that goes around the internet, and and you find these funny little questionnaires. So I'm going to read who the people are real quick and what the deal is, because we actually are on a podcast on Spotify, so the people that actually can't see this will actually know what we're talking about. So it says you have $15, and there's an alien invasion, and you have to draft your best team with that $15. And each person has a dollar amount attached to them. So the $5 category is Iron Man, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Wonder Woman, John Wick, Wolverine. The $4 category is Terminator, Aragon, Magneto, Black Panther, Ray Palpatine. $3 category is Black Widow, Legolas, Batman, Gandalf, Spider-Man. $2 category is Hermione Granger, Spock, Wong from Doctor Strange, Boba Fett, Okoye from Black Panther, and then the dollar category is Edward Cullen from Twilight, Drax, Chewbacca, and then it looks like I can't see it on here, but I think it's Charlize Theron from Mad Max. I forgot her name, and then Harley Quinn. So now Nery can bring us all back up.
We are.
I'll discuss it.
We're coming back up. Okay.
So let's start with Mike. Mike, what's your team gonna be? Who are you picking out of those guys?
I lost the screen there.
Did you hear? Oh, you want me to bring it back up?
Yeah, I think so.
There it is. There
I
it
think
is.
I gotta go with Obi-Wan as my number one. Just there's some force going on in there. I think I gotta go Terminator. Gotta go Gandalf because he's a freaking wizard.
So you're at what, 5?
I think I'm at 12, right?
And $5 for $9 and $12. Yeah, so you have $3 left.
And I think I'll go Drax and Chewbacca, and I think I got $1 left. I can't see the bottom line.
It's Charlize Theron from Mad Max and Harley Quinn are in the corner.
I think I'd go.
And Chewie's on there too, Chewbacca.
Yeah, I take Chewbacca, Drax, and the kid from Twilight.
Yeah, Sparkly Boy.
Yeah. He's got some powers, man.
I'm gonna let Nery go because I think I might have this one.
The only thing I have to say is that if I'm stuck with $15 and the aliens are invading, we have a real damn problem.
That's not the point of the exercise.
I don't care. I live in realism, sir.
I have a key question, man. Come on.
My bank account better have more than $15.
Nery to ruin the fun of the game. I swear.
Absolutely.
So crazy, dude. We're talking about aliens invading, okay?
I don't care if aliens are invading or not. I'm gonna have more than $15 in my bank account. I know who I'm picking. I'm gonna have
go for it.
Iron Man, Wonder Woman, Terminator, and I would probably have.
You only have $1 left.
I know. I was thinking Harley Quinn because she's nuts and it'll add fun to it.
All right, let's see. I'm gonna have to go with Obi-Wan because you have to have Force Guy, of course, and then Wonder Woman because she's a goddess, and I'd like to see some aliens get smashed by her, and Rey because she's another Jedi. So you got 2 Jedis and Wonder Woman. That's what, 14, and then that leaves me $1. I'm certainly not picking Twilight Boy. I think I'm gonna go with Drax just because he's funny and he would entertain us. But I feel like I don't know. I feel like I'm leaving out Magneto though. That kind of sucks.
Amazing. I think Black Panther's great too. I almost want to switch Black Panther with Terminator, but
I think the goal is to figure out like one person that would literally dominate the rest of them, and then
hang out with the other 4.
Yeah, and then and then go from there. So like you're obviously not gonna.
That's why he picked Harley Quinn. He just wants to have fun, like throw out one-liners.
Yeah, I mean you can't pick Spock and you can't pick Wong and you can't. Well, I mean I guess you can pick Wong, but Boba Fett and Okoye, you have to go like pick off the lower. Like Terminator guy's not gonna. The Terminator's not gonna fare well against Magneto, so
he's fighting against aliens, not against Magneto.
You have to look at the strengths of your other guys. You know what I mean?
I don't know.
I won't be stuck with $15. That's all I know.
Yeah, dude. Obi-Wan really cost $5. Come on.
I know.
The point of it.
I know. He's definitely a $2 name.
But yeah, so I'm going with Obi-Wan, Wonder Woman, Rey, and Drax.
I'm going to share some of the fan responses. Janet Atmary said John Wick, Terminator, Batman, Hermione, and Drax, which I don't think she picked John Wick for his fighting ability.
John Wick's going to be like the first one. As much as I love Keanu, I love him, and I love that role. Like him compared to Wonder Woman, like, nah.
Oh, that's so
Can't do it. Sorry.
Saki the Sock Puppet said Iron Man, Obi-Wan, Terminator, and Drax, which I think that's
pretty fair. That's fair.
Yeah, I think it is a solid team.
If you pick Jedis, you're pretty much on the winning team, you know?
Yeah, you're gonna kill those aliens.
Now,
Yeah.
before we end us off, Mike, what are words of advice to give aspiring convention promoters, other than having more than $15 in a bank account?
Oh my God, leave it to them to ruin everything good. This is why we can't have nice stuff.
Try to keep
Damn it.
wallet at all times. Unbelievable. I'm regretting.
All right, let Mike.
I'm regretting my picks. I think that. Any advice that I would give is just life advice, and in general, it's like just always do your best, and like try to treat people how you would like to be treated, and I think that those are real simple things. Like I'm not a it's hard to like say, hey, you do this and this and you'll succeed. But I think that there's definitely when I was thinking about doing the event, and we finally agreed that we were going to do it, and I was going to all these other events, and I learned so much just by going to other events. So I think that would be the number one piece of advice, would be to go to other events and see what you like that they do, and try to bring your own slice of life to it. But you try to emulate what you like and don't do what you don't like. Pretty simple stuff, I think.
And I think it's solid advice for anybody that's listening and wants to, start their own event. Well, particularly after the epidemic's over. But
not during.
Mike, I want to thank you for coming on. I know we were joking and had some fun, but I actually really needed this today.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So this is going out on the internet?
Nery, real quick, are there any questions that we have to go over real quick?
Yeah, let's see.
Before we forget.
Saki the Sock Puppet says, will you have WWE superstars at StocktonCon in the future? Because I'd love to attend.
We'll always have a wrestler presence at events.
Okay.
Yeah, because you're there.
Chris Landroche says, maybe we can get some new names in our area, StocktonCon or California Republic Comic Con. So that's fun.
Hey, Michael Gray commented.
Chris, if you're out there and still watching, and you ever have any suggestions, just drop us a direct message on Facebook. We're at StocktonCon on all social media. So just shoot us a note. If they're CelebWorx celebrities, even better.
Yeah, absolutely. So go on our website, check out who you want, and send Mike over the list.
CelebWorx.com.
CelebWorx.com. Go now.
I think we need to make a commercial now.
We are. This is going to be the commercial. Michael Gray said Shazam from Shazam says, hey guys, watching you again. Love CelebWorx. We love you, Michael.
Michael's awesome. He's a great guy.
And we got to get him to StocktonCon, right, Mike?
Yeah, we got to get him. We got a bunch of them coming up. So hopefully we have a bunch coming up, right?
Absolutely. Now, Mike, we've approached the end of our show. Can you tell people where to find you, things to plug, things to follow?
Well, we didn't really get into my wrestling career. You can follow me there at Mike Miller. I am the greatest president in the history of Supreme Pro Wrestling. I'm managing quite a few things at All Pro Wrestling in the Bay Area, and we also didn't get into that. That was one of the most fun events that we ever did, was the Cow Palace Royale in 2017 as well. But my boy Marcus Mack, a shout out to him. But Mike Miller. You can find me on find us on StocktonCon, at StocktonCon on all social media: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, etc.
That's great. Chris, before we take off, can you tell our fans a few things?
Yeah, I guess I could do that. I don't know. Sounds fun. So, all right, guys, just so you know, our next show is for regular CelebWorx Live. It's going to be next Sunday at 5 p.m. Pacific. We want to announce our special guest for next week's program. It's going to be none other than the voice of Bulbasaur and Pokemon, Miss Tara Sands, one of our favorite people in the world. And also, yeah, she's great. And also, we want to remind you that we also have our weekly G.I. Joe themed show, which is on Thursdays at 5 p.m. Pacific. It's called Yo Joe Raps. And this week's special guest is none other than Mary McDonald Lewis, the voice of Lady J. And I'm telling you, you want to watch that one because she is literally Lady J. Like, if there is a G.I. Joe person out there that's closest to their character, it's her. Like, she's phenomenal. Love her. She's got great opinions on everything. So it's going to be a fun one. So anyways, thanks for joining us, folks. And once again, I'm Christopher Arsaga. And you can follow me on Instagram at The Real Arsaga. And in the words of Doc Brown, your future hasn't been written yet. No one's has. Your future is whatever you make it, so make it a good one.
And this has been Nery Lemus. You can follow me at The Real Nery Lemus on Instagram. Just leaving you with a small reminder, keep your feet on the ground, always reach for the stars, and never forget to stay inspired, and always have more than $15 in your bank.
That one's never going away now.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everybody. Thank you.